Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, and listen as we have a relaxing conversation with you here. I'm your host, Marco Timpano.
And I'm your co-host, Nidhi Khanna. And you can always find us on Instagram, in particular, right now. We seem to be posting some photos.
Actually, we need to post the photo of your spoon with the orange on the handle, so we need to take one.
My bad.
But
you can find us at the Insomnia Project on Insta. And you can also find us on iTunes as usual and rate or review us if this is your first time listening.
And on Stitcher, and on iHeartRadio, and on SoundCloud, and here at Pippa, if you're following us on Pippa. We're
everywhere.
We're everywhere, Nidhi. And of course, we hope you listen and sleep. And first, I'm going to start by saying thank you, Nidhi, for making a wonderful tea, because I, as you may hear, am kind of losing my voice today. And so I came over and Nidhi was just pouring the tea in a teapot, and it was like music to my eyes. So Nidhi, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now
We were in sync.
We were in sync, and it's a lovely tea.
Oh, I thought you were going to slurp it enough. That would have been the perfect moment.
I know, but it's hot. My throat is sore enough. I don't need to. I was on stage last night, and I was doing a scene where I was in a tent, and in that tent, Nidhi, I decided to scream. And that's not good when you haven't warmed up your voice.
No.
And scream loud and for a long time, so.
I once had a terrible audition, Marco.
Okay.
Where I had to passionately give this speech and in the monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And I yelled the entire thing. I was very young and very inexperienced. And then afterwards I was like, I don't think I did that right.
Well, what a great lesson.
It was a great lesson.
Yeah, there you go.
Your throat starts to hurt.
It's a good lesson.
It's a good lesson.
It's your body's lesson telling you, stop doing that.
Ain't doing it right.
Speaking of lessons,
yes,
you just took your scuba lessons.
I did.
Okay, I need to know everything from start to finish. Now, prior to these lessons, you had taken lessons to get to here, or no?
No.
Okay.
So prior to this, all I've ever done is snorkeling.
Okay.
However, I'm going away in August.
To Bonaire, if I'm not
mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that revealed.
See you all in Bonaire. And my friend who I'm going with, she is a big diver. She's logged in like 70 dives.
Oh, that's great.
I know.
Do I know her?
Do you know Lisa?
Can we get Lisa on the show?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. Lisa, this is an invitation.
This is an invite, Lisa. And so she has been into diving for a while, and every time she talks about it with such passion. And so when I went away on vacation in January, I actually went with her as well and her fam, and her and her son were divers. And
wow.
Yeah, and so they just were so passionate about it. And when I was snorkeling in the Caribbean, I was like, I want to do this. I want to see what's under the sea.
So great.
And so I had come back in January saying, I'm going to get my scuba certification. And then life kind of happened, and I didn't really think much of it.
It's one of the first things you drop when life gets busy is your
scuba certification. And I hadn't had any plans to go back to the Caribbean at all this year. And then a few weeks ago...
Not that you have anything against the Caribbean.
I just wasn't planning on taking a vacation there. And a few weeks ago, I was talking to Lisa, and we were both like, we just need to get away. And talk turned into, should we just go back down to the Dutch Caribbean? And this time we decided to go to Bonaire. Last time we were in Curaçao.
Which is awesome, because you don't hear a lot of people going to Bonaire.
No.
It's fantastic.
And you don't hear a lot of people going to sort of that part of the Caribbean.
Right.
other than Aruba. You hear people going to Aruba.
Is Curacao part of that? Because I've heard Curacao.
It's the ABC.
Yeah, but it's
islands.
a lot less. Of the three, Bonaire is the last one I ever hear anybody
No,
going
exactly,
to.
because it's tiny.
Okay.
It can take you like 45 minutes to get from like one end to the other,
Amazing.
that type of thing, like an hour. But the diving is supposed to be amazing.
Oh, wow.
And so she said, why don't we go there? And I said, great, I should get my certification.
Yeah, of course.
And so a couple of weeks ago, I did the... sorry, that's just Xena. Let's just
you know, Xena's squeak toy, in case you're wondering what's going on.
In case you need to.
And I knew when I threw the squeak toy when I first came in, I'm like, this is a mistake, but she's so cute. I just you just have to.
I know, she gets so excited when Marco's here.
Anyways, we'll get off the detour and back to the scuba. Sorry about that.
I digress. And so I tried to look on Groupon, because that's, you know, a lot of the times you'll get these scuba courses, etc. And I actually found one that was pretty good called Aquarius Scuba.
Oh, I know it. I drive
past it, because it's on Dundas.
Yes, that's right.
And so...
and they look professional. Like, they look... Everything about it looks really top. Not that there's shady scuba schools.
I bet you there are.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is. But there...
But this one was great.
Yeah.
And so it's a 2-day course. So the first part, the 2 days that you do, the mornings are theory, and then the afternoons you go in pool and practice certain skills, which I will get to, Marco. And then you have to do 4 open water dives in order to get your full certification. So I'm going to be doing the 4 open water dives in Bonaire. In the ocean.
That's so amazing.
So it's what we call a referral course. So you have your paperwork, and then you bring it down to the certification center in Bonaire, and you get certified.
And it'll be recognized by the certification center in Bonaire, this course?
Yeah, so this is all like PADI is diving, international diving, I don't even...
PADDI, if I'm not mistaken.
1D.
PADI.
Yes.
For our listeners.
Exactly. And so it's all PADI courses.
Amazing.
So they all, it's all standardized. And so the morning, it was like 9 to 5 each day.
Of theory.
Theory in the morning, and then pool in the afternoon.
Okay, so let me ask you about theory.
Okay.
What was the one thing that you learned that you're like, wow, I didn't know that?
Oh, they're everything.
What was the one thing that stood out for you, or a couple of things that you're like, this is awesome, this is interesting, this is like, what resonated with you is what I'm trying to say.
So it's quite intense, the theory. So first they give you a book and like videos, and you have to watch them. You have to do a bunch of pre-work. If you don't, so anyone who's considering doing this,
do the pre-work.
Do the pre-work, because the pace at which they go in the actual classroom, you're not going to understand much if you haven't done the pre-work.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, and it's not that it's difficult content, it's just that, like, you need to wrap your head around barometric, like, bars and, like, equalization and some of the terminology of diving,
right.
And, like, what's a BCD and all the, like, equipment and a regulator, etc. And so if you're only going to be exposed to that for the first time in the actual classroom setting, it becomes a little bit intense.
So that leads me to my question. Did you do the pre-work?
I did. I did the pre-work, the first 3 chapters. And then after the first day, I was like, I better do chapter 4 and 5.
I guess.
Which were the easier chapters. Okay. But watching the videos was helpful.
Okay.
So basically, the work really takes you... into the theory of diving about cool. Pressure on the body, and essentially it's this. It's like, as you go down, the water pressure increases, and so your like cells get more compressed, and your density increases, and so you have to constantly be aware. Like, you need to do what's called equalization to make sure you don't burst eardrums, etc., etc. And then, the idea of buoyancy and some really technical terms that you will probably remember from, like, grade 9 science.
Okay.
Just applied in a different way, in a more tangible way. And so it actually makes sense, right?
Wow.
And then there's a lot of, like, multiple choice tests and stuff that you need to do.
It sounds very thorough. Like, they don't...
Yeah, they don't mess, because, it's sort of like... anything that has potential risk, right?
Sure.
And so, you have to always be with a buddy. You need to be very respectful to the wildlife.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there's certain things that you need to, as a conscious diver, know, right? And I'm excited. I'm terrified, but I'm excited.
For example, what's one thing you have to be conscious of with regards to wildlife?
Well, I mean, just don't... some people, Marco, are stupid, I have to say. And it's like, let me touch the turtle. Or let me touch this, random thing that might end up being a jellyfish. Or, just don't touch things.
It's like...
You're in their home.
It's like shopping...
Would I go into your home and touch your medicine cabinet?
No, you shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't. And if you're at my house, don't touch my turtle either.
No, exactly.
No, but it's shopping rules. Do not touch. No, I guess unless you're ready to buy. No, forget that. But don't touch stuff. Just don't touch stuff.
Just don't. Yeah, exactly. This
I once touched a sea urchin by mistake, and its spine broke in my finger, and it was painful, Nidhi, for a while. So don't touch the sea urchin either.
Like your guests in the water.
Your guests in the water. I love it. Be respectful.
Be respectful.
Enjoy. Touch with your eyes, observe.
Yes.
And enjoy.
And so what was really interesting to me is actually how almost meditative it is. Because once you're at a certain depth and you're kind of gliding around, because you've got the flippers.
Right.
And it's
so now we're in the water.
Now we're... Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So,
which is great.
I mean, it's a little bit different because in a pool... you can only go so deep.
Sure.
But you can learn certain technical aspects. So I'm really looking forward to actually seeing wildlife and fishes and sea creatures.
But you were saying it's meditative because...
Yeah, because you're really slow, right? You're just kind of gliding through water. So think about it. How many times in your life are you actually immersed completely in water? You're not.
No, you're not. I mean, you can sort of dive in for a few seconds and pop back out, or you can swim underwater, but you can only... It's not a relaxing, right?
And because you can breathe through the regulator, it's like you're... And you need to breathe very deeply and slowly in order to... Well, because people can panic underwater.
Sure.
It can become... but you need to kind of remain level-headed. So some of the things that we had to learn how to do, for example, underwater, Marco, is we had to, for example, learn how to, if your regulator stops working, how to use someone else's.
Yes, of course, like the buddy system or something. The buddy system, right?
Exactly. And then how you can both, if I'm attached to your secondary regulator, how we both come up to the surface.
Oh, yes,
together.
Of course, yeah.
At one point, they actually turn off your air underwater. To show you what the gauge does.
Looks like? Oh.
Yes, and you have literally 2 breaths before the gauge runs out, right? So, and then they turn it back on. You have to take off your entire vest with all your things underwater and put it back on.
Ooh.
You have to clear your mask. So if your mask gets full of water, they show you how to do that. Or if your mask comes out underwater, they show you how to clear it. So that the water comes out of the actual mask. Even
underwater you can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
I know.
Did your yoga practice help with the breathing underwater? When you say deep breath?
Yeah, it does. It does. Or just to get in that state of don't panic, breathe. I think part of that is also maybe actor training.
Okay.
Your first response can't be oh my God.
Right.
But I think that's true. So I'm really looking for... So it's really... What I'm interested about is... So some of the skills that you practice in the pool, you need to practice underwater in the ocean again.
Ooh.
And so, the clearing of the mask is easier in the pool because it's normal chlorine water, right?
Right, of course.
But if it's salt water...
Oh, of course.
Because in order to clear it, you have to actually, exhale through your nose and... clear it a bit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so that's what brings the water out.
Oh.
But if it's salt water, I'm am I just going to get salt in my nose?
Yeah, I guess.
So things like that will be interesting.
Wow.
And then, so I'm looking forward to experiencing also just, because essentially with air, you're going up and down, right? And so, just to feel weightless underwater is going to be an interesting sensation.
It's kind of like some people have weightless dreams or like floating dreams.
Yes.
It really can bring you to the most relaxed state you can be in, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully like our podcast.
Exactly.
I want to ask you this. Did they tell you should eat a lot of lemons and limes so you don't get scurvy? That's one of the things. Because you don't want to have scurvy when you're scuba diving.
Because I'm going on a long journey. I'm not actually taking a boat to the Caribbean.
Listen, whenever you're doing water things, whether it be on a boat or not, I always say a little tequila, a little lemon, a little lime is gonna certainly help you.
This is true.
So, okay. So you've done everything that you can do up until this point, and now you have 4 open water dives that you're going to do in Bonaire.
Yes, and can I just say the weekend that I took the course was the same weekend that those divers were rescuing everyone in
Right, so it must have been very interesting for you.
It was fascinating. Mm-hmm. It was fascinating because it's like all of a sudden I'm learning this, and then I would go home and learn about all the complexities of that dive,
right,
or like that situation, and I actually understood it in a different way. So yeah,
that's fascinating. Like I was thinking about that. I'm like, she's learning things that you can watch CNN and be like, I know exactly what they're talking about right now in real time, in real learning time. Anyways,
exactly.
Wow, Nidhi. So here's something interesting. So you did that this weekend.
Yes.
I went to Christian Island this weekend.
Okay.
So Christian Island, have you heard of it?
No.
So Christian Island is an island in Georgian Bay that is just north of La Fontaine. I may have mentioned La Fontaine. So my cottage is on Georgian Bay.
Right.
La Fontaine is on Georgian Bay. La Fontaine is a French community in the township of Tiny.
Okay.
And it's been French since the settlers were there. So it has a very pure old French, I've been told. And they have this festival. It's called the Festival de Loup. Mm-hmm. It's a wolf festival based on a myth of wolf eating children in the town.
I love it already.
I know. I'm sure our listeners are like trying to relax and I'm talking about that, but it's like this. It happened. The myth happened in the 1800s, so they celebrate the banishment of the wolf in this town. And this town is about 20 minutes from my cottage, and then Christian Island is about 30 minutes away from that town. So I said to Amanda, let's go to the Festival de Loup, and then let's go to Christian Island. Mm-hmm. So you hop on a boat and you go to Christian Island, and it's a First Nations island. Mm-hmm. So you're allowed to be on it. There's cottages you can own, but you cannot rent. Okay. So they'll allow you to sort of lease the cottage.
Okay.
And there's some beautiful beaches there. And so we decided just to kind of go and see the island and explore and see the beaches. There's a beautiful lighthouse. It's really wonderful, Nidhi. It's really, really wonderful.
Sounds great.
And, you know, there's everyone that I encountered, I helped launch a boat, Nidhi.
You launch a boat?
Well, you know how you launch a boat in the water. So I happened to be walking on the beach, and I was like, hey, can I help you launch the boat? And they're like, if you don't mind. And so we got in the water and pushed it. It was a lot of fun. Okay, the reason I bring up Christian Island is not to tell you about my lovely weekend jaunt on this beautiful island.
Although I like that.
But they have 7 wrecks in that area. Oh, yeah. And so there's a lot of scuba diving that's happening there. And so when we got on the boat, the ferry to get to the island, I noticed that there was a little inlet where there was a lot of scuba divers, and I thought of you. And because it's fresh water and not salt water, the boats are still intact and very, very much intact. So I know a lot of people love to dive in fresh water. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you ever want to do wreck diving with your friend, it's not that far from my cottage. So
amazing.
Bring your gear.
Could do that.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. Sorry about my voice. I had a friend who, anytime I was doing a show with him, every time I had this kind of a voice, he was like, you sound like Brenda Vaccaro. So this is my Brenda Vaccaro.
Who's Brenda Vaccaro?
She's this actress from the 70s and 80s who has a deep voice. I think she played Tony's cousin on Who's the Boss.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Of course.
And she played, you know who she played? I don't know if you'll know this, but she played the woman who was married to Sophia's son on The Golden Girls.
Oh,
that's Brenda Vaccaro.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
She's done a lot. I think she was even in Saturday Night Fever. if you saw her, you'd be like, oh yeah, she's been on everything. She's always like a guest performer on The Love Boat or CSI or Law and Order. She'll pop up doing things like that.
Right.
But she has a very husky voice, let's say.
Cool. Oh yeah, Midnight Cowboy. Okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
You've seen her. You know who she is. If you were to see her, you'd be like, yeah, that woman.
Her. Have you watched any Golden Girls lately?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, it doesn't come on syndication.
No, at least not where we are, because they could be syndicated anywhere. So
right,
listeners might be
true.
like, it's on every day at 4 o'clock.
Right.
What are you talking about? But as many people know, I often will use the Golden Girls as a tool to help me fall asleep. Now I'm using Bob's Burgers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bob's Burgers does that for me.
Really? Interesting.
I find it very relaxing.
Huh.
So, yeah, and what's the other show? There's Planet Earth.
Oh,
or the Blue Planet.
Yeah.
I think it's what's the voiceover person's name?
It's Attenborough.
Attenborough, thank you. His voice is very calming for me.
Yes. Actually, I should watch the Planet Earth.
And I like a lot of the BBC sort of Escape to the Continent. There's some show like that where
I always like the 90-minute mystery shows because it's 90 minutes and there's no interruptions and
But don't you want to get to the end of that? That's why I would have a problem with that, because I would stay awake wanting to get to the end of the mystery.
Well, because they're so conventional. Like you could always go back.
You're a mystery enthusiast.
Yes.
So you can probably see plot, devices and figure things out right away, right? Because you've read so much.
Sure. I mean, yes. For things like Father Brown or,
right.
Like the old Midsummer Murders or something like that, there's usually... But I just like it because it's so long, so you don't have to... I can fall asleep. The voices are still going.
Sure. You know what's funny? So my 3-year-old nephew likes to watch Paw Patrol.
Oh, of course.
So Paw Patrol, for those who may not be familiar with it, there's about 4 or 5 dogs. One of the lead dog is Chase, and my nephew loves Chase. And then there's Rumble and Marshall.
Wait, what do they do? What do each one of them do? What's their thing?
Marshall's like a firefighter. He's like a Dalmatian, so he wears the fire hat.
Amazing.
Rumble is like a bulldog, so he wears a construction hat.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the Village People, but they're dogs. And each one, they have their specialties, right? And they figure out problems. And this theme song is Chase is on the case. Part of it is Chase is on the case. So that's my nephew's favorite show. I lately have been getting into this show called Scorpion, which is canceled and has 4 seasons, okay? And my wife says to me, she goes, you and your nephew watch the same shows. Because Scorpion is like a group of 5 people who are geniuses who solve problems, right? Yeah. So she's like, you and your nephew like the same show. He's 3. And you're much older, and you watch the same show. And
look at these dogs. Look at the dog, the flying dog.
Yeah, that's Sky, I think is her name. And she can fly a plane.
Oh. Of course she can.
And there's more, and I apologize because I can't remember all their names, Nidhi.
Oh, I
but
love it.
Certainly Chase is my nephew's favorite.
Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the name is Chase too. Everything about it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was visiting my friends in the UK, they both separately have children who are the same age essentially, and Peppa Pig.
Yeah, Peppa Pig is huge.
It was huge.
Mm-hmm. I love Muddy Puddles. Do you know that?
No.
So one of the pigs. This is anybody who's listening right now. Like, you guys are getting this all wrong. So.
Yeah, they're like, clearly these two have no children in the household.
Peppa likes to put on her rain boots. Oh, I hope it's a her, because I'm really going to get in trouble if I get her. Peppa the pig, regardless of gender, likes to put on their rain boots and jump in muddy puddles.
Amazing.
And I think Peppa has a younger brother named George. I went to see Peppa Pig live with my niece and nephew, so I should...
Marco, how were you not taking notes?
Not only that, Nidhi, I have friends who are involved in the show, so you would think I would pay more attention. And then we had a meet and greet with Peppa and the friends. Nidhi,
You're such a rock star. You're the rock star uncle.
It's true. I love the aquanauts. I wish when I was a kid, because you know me, I love undersea life. I love fish. I know so much about it. We could have a show where you just ask me about different fish, and I'll give you information. I used to watch Jacques Cousteau. Anything that was under the sea, Oceans Alive. I watched it all. So the aquanauts are these. One's a cat. One's a something like a cat. I don't remember. One's a dog, I think, and they're all in like a submarine, and they go and they'll go underwater and they'll have adventures, and then they'll feature an underwater animal, and they'll tell the kids who are watching about a sea cucumber, a giant squid, and whatnot. And all these things, when I was a kid, I would have loved, and unfortunately, it wasn't around when I was a kid, so. My favorite cartoon was Jabberjaw because it took place underwater.
Oh, amazing.
And if you're not familiar with Jabberjaw, it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, so like Scooby-Doo, that didn't have much success, that followed around a shark and the shark's friends as they got into adventures.
Although The Aquanauts was a TV show in the 1960s.
No, but this is not the Aquanauts I'm talking about.
No, these are two guys who were like diving around.
No, I wish I would have seen that. I didn't even see that. Not that I was around in the 60s, but...
Although, in an upcoming episode, we should talk about your experience on Hot Squad.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a kid's show that I got to be on. Yeah, I was double date.
I like that one because like it again had the mystery element to it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved growing up Mathnet, Mathnet.
Mathnet, okay.
Which used to be on this show. It was like oh my god, what was the name of this show? And they used to have these like different vignettes during the half hour, and one of the like main ones was Mathnet, and they would try and solve these math problems. And it was like these two private eyes who were.
And that's what got you into mystery novels.
And that got me into mystery.
Well, and that got us to the end of our show, Nidhi.
I know, look at that.
How time flies.
From Scuba to Mathnet.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Insomnia Project. As always, it's produced by Drumcast Productions, and this episode was recorded in Toronto.
And as always, we hope that you listen and sleep.